I know I said the last season of challenge runs was supposed to be the canonical one, covering everything in the game conclusively, but I wanted to start experimenting with video formatting, and you know how I've done that since the genesis of the channel? That's right, Dead Cells challenge runs. And hey, it's not the exact same as the previous runs. This is a run with but a single weapon. I will not be using anything else for this build. No turrets doing most of the work while I occasionally get a hit with the title weapon, no overpowered combos to fall back on, just the balanced blade. Okay, onto the weapon itself. Why the balanced blade when there are so many more weapons that can easily solo a run? It's the first one on the list. You can't see, but I'm shrugging right now. What do you want? It's also a good middle-of-the-road weapon. Fast melee, easy to fulfill critical condition, a weapon that wasn't in the original early access version of the game, but an archetype that people had constantly requested due to the rusty sword being, well, the rusty sword. The actual gimmick of the blade is gaining damage for successive hits up to a 90% increase. At 10 hits, it starts doing critical damage. Between my hyper-aggressive playstyle and everything teleporting directly to me on max difficulty, I'll have that critical up most of the time. So, what's the strategy aside from don't get hit lol? Well, there are two mutations that will provide both offense and defense over the course of the run. First one I get is melee, while going to the sewers. Look, a lot of this is arbitrary decision making, seeing what works, right? So those enemies down on hit. The speed of the weapon makes it trivial to apply a bunch of stacks of slowing, eventually freezing them in place. Normally a mutation I don't like doing, slowing enemies makes them less predictable, compared to full speed at least, but I never ran into that issue in this run. Maybe it's because I can take down enemies before they can even attack, maybe it's the ungodly amount of time that I played this game that it's less unpredictable than I thought. This is also the point when I realized that I should just eliminate every weapon except for the balance blade. Unlike the showcases, this is an actual challenge run, and I should give myself as many advantages as reasonable. Really thought about just skipping the corrupted prison. I hate dealing with curses so much, but keep the work that Melee is doing here. Even the deadly toxic miasma are no problem. I also completely forgot that I'm supposed to be doing a weapon-restricted run and continue doing dive attacks on enemies here. Whoops. A run invalid. Ow. Nothing shows just how well this went than leaving this area with nearly zero melees on the board. Neato. When I got to the ramparts, sweepers started to become a real problem, for some reason. They're hard to rush down with a melee weapon and tend to get at least one attack off. Really, I was getting too spoiled by killing every enemy before they knew what was happening. Wow, I cannot believe how many times I was using the dive attack. Now, you could make the case that by using mutations and amulets, that it's a gray area as far as the rules go, but I think I should at least try to make the weapon my only source of damage. It's just so convenient to have that source of momentary stunning. Concierge is an easy fight. Moving on. Okay, not yet, as I do have the other half of my mutation build working for me right now. Not that I'm able to use it most of the time, what with the whole damage field around the Concierge, just constantly. Still, though, you do get a lot longer of a time to be able to keep the critical condition of the weapon going, meaning that even if I might not be getting the huge boost of damage from combo, I am still doing pretty good in terms of damage here. Alright, well, look at it go there. Of course, dodging around, even in melee, not tremendously difficult. And all I gotta do is just make sure that, unlike the sweepers, that I'm just jumping over the attack as I'm doing it. Well, as the Concierge is doing it, because otherwise, you know, that's just going to put me in a very bad position here. Oh, and I want to get that legendary item. Not that it matters, because, of course, the legendary item can be anything if you do the no-hit boss hit thing, and that means that it's very unlikely to be the balance blade. There we go. Went pretty well regardless. And run failed. Okay, I'm not going to be using... Well, run doubly failed. I'm not going to be using the grenade over the course of the run, but this is just more reason why I should have just disabled everything else, right? I hate these cannonballs. It's the exact same issue as the sweepers. The pirate captains are able to shoot out the balls before I can stop them, and explosion big. What more do I need to say? 4 times damage fire blast. That would be kind of fun to play around with, mostly because it's silly animation, but it's also a clear downgrade. I don't think I've got one upgrade on this weapon yet, and it's still doing this well. I'm kind of surprised at how much damage a starting balance blade is doing even now. Maybe it's not as middle of the road as I thought. It's that name, balance blade. Makes you think that it's going to be an unimpressive default starting weapon that will be outclassed by everything else you unlock. Doesn't help that it's also a weapon that you get from the beginning of the game. Overall, the village went pretty well, minus the start with Pirate Captain. If I'm going to do more of these runs, I'll probably be choosing the Fractured Shrines more often than not, due to the guaranteed legendary version of the weapon appearing there. This time, the legendary is movement speed when getting a critical, so I chose the easier route. The Sepulchre is also a nice breezy biome to get through. The only enemy I was really worried about was the corpulent zombies, so as I've been doing before, I just took them out as soon as I saw any in a crowd. Looking at the game in an abstract way like this is making me realize how there's usually a single enemy in an area that I'm focusing on. Specifically ones that were added in later updates to cover the shortcomings of the other enemies in the area. Then again, the exploding bats have also been a problem, as the weapon doesn't always hit them when they're right in front of me. Thanks, Dead Cells. But I've seen that happen more than a few times with many a weapon, so I'm able to dodge out of the way regardless. And hey, there's a challenge rift in here for that sweet bonus stat. You'll love to see it. The Timekeeper. I fought this boss more than any of the other Tier 2 bosses, and I didn't have a shield for the Giant or the courage for this Scarecrow. This was my biggest mistake, as you can already see just looking at the fight. You really can't get a bunch of hits in a row on this boss. And, well, of course, the shield really helps on this boss, too. Something that I didn't think I was really going to need, because I know the basics of dodging. I mean, despite what it might look like in this fight, I do know how to dodge this boss. I practiced plenty of times when I was preparing for the Cursed Sword run. I don't know. Maybe I was just too overconfident, and maybe it's just... I really just deserved this. I took the grenade, I used dive attacks, and there was the most important sin of them all, hubris. Took more than a few runs to get back up to the same point, and the most interesting thing that happened during those was this fight with the Mimic. I hate this mini-boss, but it did not stand a chance. Also, I did turn off all the other weapons in Balance Blade, in case you were wondering. Picking back up where I died, I went for the Giant this time. The Giant has some attacks that obviously really benefit from having a shield, but the Giant is also way more susceptible to multiple hits in a row for both combo and the just general Balance Blade usage. Look at how much damage I'm doing alone to the eye right now. Oh, and I do have Super Mario mode on the necklace, so I'm kind of bouncing on top of the hands. I'm going to still say I'm doing better in terms of dodging compared to last time. It's not great, though. Also, no particular reason why I was constantly going for the right hand. If anything, I think the super attack on the left hand is a little bit harder to dodge, so, well, that's my bad. Other thing here is that I probably, speaking of which, also probably should have switched out melee, because I'm not going to be freezing the Giant here. With something like Masochism, the extra damage reduction I get against the crystals that are falling down, which are considered a trap or environmental obstacle, would probably be good. And I could have comboed that with, I don't know, let's say Vengeance instead of taking Disengagement to be able to really get a lot of extra damage out of that too. Definitely something to think about. If I do end up doing more of these single weapon runs, which as of right now, I don't know. I'm just putting this one out and seeing how it's doing. Stuff like planning on getting hit in a boss fight and whatnot, going to come up a lot more. And stuff like getting that little bit of extra damage could be the difference maker. You can see I go directly to the throne room because it's been a few runs at this point. Several days of just playing. The problem is that I always get to the point where I'm just like, oh, I'm doing so bad. I'm getting tired, and you're just doing extra worse over and over and over. So it took me a while to even get back up to this point again. I just decided, let's finish it up nice and quick. I think like the previous series, as long as I can beat the Hand of the King, I'm going to consider it to be a successful run. Not to say that I'm not going to try to finish it regardless, but even at this point in time, I kind of had my expectations couched. But also, speaking of that Curse Sword run again, I have gotten a lot of experience against the final boss with very minimal loadout, so most of the times I go up against him shouldn't be too bad. That's my hope. We'll see if I even end up doing any more of these videos. I don't know. All right. Hand of the King, obviously, do have a lot of opportunity to get that combo working. The only real issue with this fight, and the thing that was more annoying than anything else, these bombs. The bombs just keep clearing out areas that I can stand in. And, you know, after going up against this guy so much, I know that he likes to throw those down, you know, in between, like every attack or so. Shouldn't be doing dive attacks. I was doing it a lot less in the subsequent runs. Not that I had those recorded for commentary or anything, but it's like I was doing better. Still not doing perfect. Yeah. I am actually doing pretty good on the telluric shock attack the hand is doing right now. I feel like that's always one of the more Super Mario mode. Still kind of doing me dirty here. That would be kind of a single weapon run that might be interesting to do. Only jumping on top of enemy heads. Not going to be on 5-cell mode. Goes without saying. Close, but I got that. You can still see, though, damage is good. I was really fully expecting to try and get some sort of combo, whether it's getting, I don't know, the open wounds combined with the plus damage on bleed, or just even plain old plus 30% damage on slowdown and whatnot. Not that it really matters here. You can see that I am not getting melee to work at all on bosses, period. You don't even slightly get the little hourglass above their head. Still, though, damage is good. It's good. I'm really turning around on Balance Blade, I'll say that. Now we got everyone's favorite neon blue floating fortress. What's the plan? Target the librarians. Look, you all knew that I was going to say that. I, of course, hate books with a passion. Also, those guys have ruined so very many runs, and this is not a weapon that works well against them. No other enemy even compares, which is why you're just getting a super cut of all the book boy fights. Good stuff, good stuff. A lot of fun. I mean, it's easy when I get to them before they see me, but extremely obnoxious if they see me first. Collector fight. As always, more of an endurance fight than anything else, because you gotta go through so many rounds. Of course, as long as I can just dodge a lot of the basic attacks, that really shouldn't be too much of a problem. And right there, I already failed to begin, because I don't know, I thought the Collector was going to be doing less hits. That combo where does the shove syringe at you, I guess you'd call it, is something of a variable number of hits there, which it was sort of messing me up. Of course, that was really largely because of, once again, hubris. See, like, look at the damage. Damage, good, fantastic. Probably should have also did that vengeance, and I don't know, I maybe actually just taken the disengagement was the right choice this time. I mean, I had plenty, or even just a cursed healing. Yeah, the one that gives you a damage boost when you use your potion. Because I think that would be rather useful over the course of this, right? I mean, it is not, an extremely huge, ludicrous amount of extra damage, but it is some. Okay, now, can I just do it this time? Right, I forgot hitting the wall does knock you off of that, too. Great! And hey, one of the rare times I actually got hit by the disembodied ball and chain, which I guess is just ball. You know, as you do. It's not an extremely quick fight, because we're already circling back around to the same rooms that I've seen before. But I think this was the last bit here, right? Let me go to the actual observatory part of the observatory. Trying to go for hits in between the ball attack was... Oh, no, not this. It's so easy to do with shields. Just back off. Disengage a little bit. You're not going to even be able to get good rally up from hitting him during that because he's got such huge damage reduction. Oh, no. Why'd I have to go for this attack again? Come on. Look, I can definitely do this fight, okay?